Welcome back. It is day 17 of VEDA, and I want to talk today about something that's brought up by two candidates running for the presidency recently and repeatedly. Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders may not agree on much, but they have both pointed out how they had opposed the U.S. intervention in the Middle East and that they alone had the foresight to recognize that our military intervention aimed at regime change and nation building would most likely lead to the destabilization of the entire region that we do in fact see today. Afghanistan and Iraq can be laid at the feet of George W. Bush, but even Barack Obama, after promising that there would be no more Iraqs, went into Libya with insufficient plans for the day after toppling Muammar Gaddafi. Obama himself has called this his biggest mistake, recognizing that today, 5 years later, we do indeed see a country that is anything but stable. And that's what I want to talk about today, stability, because I think it needs more attention and more consideration. 5 years after the euphoria that comes with the vision of liberating a nation from a despotic tyrant, consider an area that is essentially still at war. The people are discontented, our leading commander of American forces has written, but it is with the feeble and oppressive mode of conducting the war, not with the war itself. He believes it's critical for the United States and its allies to achieve a significant military victory this year, or all might be lost because of the state of American public opinion. 5 years after liberation, however, things couldn't possibly be worse. Would you believe that a former American general, one of our most promising soldiers in the field, has actually turned to the other side and led a devastating raid on one of our most important posts? It's true. And it could get worse. Disgruntled American soldiers, unhappy with the lack of financial support from the government, are one of our biggest concerns. And if they don't desert entirely, that they cannot or will not fight with the strength and conviction necessary if called on to do so again. You probably haven't heard much of these sad developments from the mainstream media. That's not so much because of their bias or incompetence, however, as it is from the fact that these stories are from 1781, some 235 years old. That's right, the leading American commander who wrote about the feeble war effort was George Washington. The turncoat was Benedict Arnold, who captured and destroyed Richmond, Virginia in January of that year. Americans remember well that we declared our independence on July 4th, 1776, yet we don't often remember well how long and arduous our progress toward resolving that conflict was. If anything, we remember the events that happened before the Declaration of Independence better than the time afterwards. We remember the Boston Tea Party, the Battle of Bunker Hill, but not so much the challenges we faced afterwards. 5 years after declaring our independence, we were indeed still at war, and it would be another 8 years before we saw the Constitution and Bill of Rights agreed upon that would finally unite us and serve as our supreme law. I don't want to oversell this notion. Indeed, there are huge differences between the United States' march toward democracy and the resolution of our conflicts with Great Britain and the deep-seated tribal and religious differences that divide the Middle East. But we also shouldn't hold unrealistic expectations for quick success or turn away from an ongoing commitment to people that are still struggling today. My last two Project for Awesome videos were dedicated to the Malala Fund because I see people in that region desperately in need of help, the same way we once needed the help of the French. And I can't help thinking that if the French had said of our forefathers, looking at a gloomy situation 5 years after our first bid for freedom, well, should have seen that coming and left well enough alone. If they had turned away, we likely wouldn't have a United States with which to have an extended election process we're struggling through today. To oversell the notion of stability, as if that were the loftiest goal the United States and the world should ever strive for, ignores the values of liberty, democracy, and opportunity that have long stood as the cornerstones of our reason for being. We may have made blunders that led to instability, but perhaps it is still just part of a birthing process that, if we see it through without focusing solely on our needs and fears, can lead to better lives for several nations and for generations to come. What about you? What do you think? Would we and the rest of the world be better off today if Muammar Gaddafi and Saddam Hussein were still in power? If we had never knocked the Taliban out of control in Afghanistan? Let me know what you think down in the comments. And until next time, don't forget to be awesome, and I will talk to you again soon, hopefully.